All right, y'all, we're taking a look at this boudoir photography business today. We're going to be seeing for these two Google searches, does it have BSS for each Google search, yes or no? So we're back in the GBC universe where we're taking declining boudoir photographers to the number one boudoir photographer in their city. As always, our North Star is FSIC, full spectrum intent capture. More about that, pinned video, home video, somewhere on this profile. And that's because FSIC explains why all boudoir photographers either rise or fall. So if a boudoir photography business is rising, we're probably bringing in everyone across the entire intent spectrum here. High intent on the left to low intent on the right. And, if a boudoir photography business is falling, most likely we're missing chunks of people that we're not bringing in through this boudoir, somewhere in this intent spectrum. So over on the left, we got the highest intent peeps. So we're talking about BSS here. Get to that in a little bit. And highest intent peeps, they're searching for a boudoir photo shoot right now in their city on social media, social search, or on Google search. And we're over on the other end on the right, we got our sister brand, Boudoir FB Ad Doctor. We're talking about BLCS, and that's getting in front of the lowest intent people in our city, which is actually the highest volume of people. But with that brand, we currently only work with the boudoir photographers running more than 10 grand a month in boudoir Facebook ads. All right, now on to BSS, Boudoir Search Sameness. This is when a boudoir photographer has 0 or 1 slots on page 1 of Google. So 0 slots, we're on page 2 or deeper. I mean, we're dead right off the bat, man. Because we know approximately 80% of Google searches never even hit page 2. They are page 1 search only. So approximately 80% of searches, dude, that's literally the bulk of the market. This is who we're focused on, this is who we care about. And that's page 1 only for them. And 1 slot on page 1, that still ain't good enough because there's 10 organic slots on page 1. If 9 are other boudoir photographers, that means a potential buyer, is simply going to be, click and open everyone's link, everyone's website, blah, 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 blah. And actually, getting price quotes from everyone, price shopping everyone, price comparing everyone. Probably won't even remember who they reached out to. So there'll be so many people. Page 1 only though, so we're assuming the bulk, that we're only focused on the 80% here, approximately 80%. They're page 1 only peeps. Now, 0 1 slots on page 1 of Google is actually not normal. It's a symptom of 2 deeper root causes. And those 2 deeper root causes are market saturation and the false belief of page 1 equality. So yeah, basically everyone knows about market saturation. Someone gets a new iPhone and they throw out their Google My Business profile that they are now a boudoir photographer. They got their boudoir photography website, competing with us to rank on page 1. Okay, cool. Also, someone gets a new camera. They're competing with us to, now they're posting in the mom groups on Facebook saying they now offer boudoir as well. And so market saturation, market always gets more and more saturated. Markets always get more and more saturated over time. And we saw, big market saturation when COVID hit. People lost their jobs, couldn't work, still needed to earn money though. And everyone's got a great camera attached to their phone. That's when a ton of boudoir photographers hopped in, making the market more and more saturated. Now, the false belief of page 1 inequality, this one basically nobody knows about because the implicit belief of page 1 equality, which is false, was kind of just, accepting that, or kind of implicitly agreeing without even thinking about it, that, yeah, every boudoir photographer gets, 0 or 1 slots on page 1. And if I lose, if I was on page 1, but then I got knocked off by new boudoir photographer with their website, that's what happens. And, I've seen that this is the number one, from what I've seen, this is the number one killer of boudoir photography businesses, is simply accepting this as, assuming it's normal. It's not normal. It's not normal to have this few number of slots on page 1 of Google. It's not normal to, be knocked off page 1 and just lie there like that. Google actually will give us as many page 1 slots on Google as we want to take with our effort. And I know that because I went from 0 out of 10 slots on page 1 to 9 out of 10 slots on page 1 on Google in 10 days by using this new method I've developed. And so the false belief of page 1 equality, or aka falsely believing that there's nothing we can do to hop back up on page 1 from page 2, has been, from what I've seen, the number one killer of boudoir photography businesses. Because now we know approximately 80% of searches will never even see you if you're on page 2. And we also know that boudoir photographer with boudoir search sameness is a disappearing boudoir photographer, a DBP. So we're building up our universe here on the left side, our micro universe. We got a disappearing boudoir photographer with boudoir search sameness. It's caused by the 2 horns of market saturation and page 1, the false belief of page 1 equality, which makes people believe nothing's possible, nothing can help them. but it's kind of a box that they're stuck in. But they break through the box, they punch through the box, they can see outside, and they see, oh, there's a solution. Because finally, we did find a solution because we invented it. Discovered that BSS Boudoir search sameness is treated with social search saturation, aka our S cubed methodology, and it works exactly as it says. Social search saturation. We saturate social search for the highest intent keywords that boudoir buyers are searching right now to buy a boudoir photo shoot in our city. Highest intent, closest to the money, easiest to convert, highest conversion rates. And the interesting thing about SQL methodology is this is the only solution I've seen for boudoir photographers that can successfully outcompete a saturated market, and it can work relatively quickly. Obviously, the one other solution would be brand, having a brand, but dude, that takes like minimum 5 years or 10 years to get. We ain't got that time anymore. AI is taking more people's jobs. We need maximum page one on Google now. So, how does SQ methodology successfully overcome and still grow a business with massive market saturation of boudoir photographers entering the market? So, let's say we got a million boudoir photographers, and we're in Austin, Texas. We're one of them. Everyone's got a website saying they're a boudoir photographer, and everyone's trying to rank page one on Google, because that is still where approximately 90% of searches go. And we decided to max out SQ'd methodology. So we're ranking for the highest buyer intent keywords across social search, so across all the social networks. Let's say we're taking like the first 300 slots, and as a result, we are these are kind of the small streams, the small rivers off the backside of the Andes that then flow into the Amazon River, big Amazon River, which is page one on Google. So we're also taking the first 300 slots page one on Google. Well, first 300 slots on Google, 10 organic slots per page on Google. That'd be the first 30 pages. We're taking them all up. And so anytime a buyer searches for a boudoir photographer in Austin, anywhere on social or on Google, basically like, on Google, I gotta go to page like 31 to essentially see any of our competitors. And we already know approximately 80% of searches never even hit page two. They're page one only searches. So basically no one's gone to page 31. And so in this case, even if there's a million boudoir photographers, whose boudoir photography business is growing? Ours. Well, actually maxed out SQ'd methodology. We took over all this social search. We saturated it, and as a result, saturated Google search as well, on Google page one. So, and this thing works way faster than building a brand. And also, SQ methodology is the fastest way to build a brand. It helps to build a brand, cuts down the time on building a brand. So it's like extra benefit, long-term benefit with that. Now, once we treat BSS with SQ methodology, we have page one visibility. So an initial benefit of this is we're kicking competing boudoir photographers off page one, effectively making them invisible. Now, this is awesome because this happens instantly. For every slot we take on page one on Google, we're kicking another boudoir photographer off and essentially making them invisible because we know that, and approximately 80% of Google searches never even reach page two. They stay they're page one only searches. So, we're essentially making an entire competitor disappear. So this is like an initial bonus that we get right ASAP, along with our slots on page one that we get. Now, page one visibility activates boudoir search visibility for us, BSV. And with this, we actually want to hit the GBC recommended minimum of 3 out of 10 slots on page one. And when we do that, we want to hit recommended minimum of 3 out of 10 because basically all the other boudoir photographers will, they'll have 1 out of 10 if they're even on page one. And so our 3 versus their 1, we're going to look amazing. Kind of subconsciously, buyers are going to say, oh, why does Google keep recommending this person over and over and over? Maybe they'll only click on our 3 links and not even look at any of our competitors. Who knows? There's also the very, very small chance someone may have 2 slots on page one. So, do 3 slots, basically dominating everyone, no matter who's on page one. And that's boudoir search visibility. And we also know that boudoir photographer with BSV, boudoir search visibility, is a visible boudoir photographer VBP. So we got our micro universe here. It's disappearing boudoir photographer with boudoir search sameness caused by the twin horns of market saturation and the false belief of page one equality. Thankfully, we now have a solution. SQ'd methodology works way faster than 5 to 10 years to build a brand. We achieve page one visibility. We become a visible boudoir photographer with boudoir search visibility. All right, now my results using basically, so my results using SQ'd methodology. I want to rank for the keyword term BLCS boudoir. I want to rank as much as I could page one on Google. So go here to the invisible slots, or the organic slots. We got slot 1 here, me. Slot 2 here, me. Slot 3 here, me. Slot 4 here, TikTok, me. Slot 5 here, me. Slot 6, me. Slot 7, me. Slot 8, me. And slot 10, me. So in 10 days, I went from 0 out of 10 slots on page one to 9 out of 10 slots on page one. And we actually did this all with S-cubed methodology, pure S-cubed. We did not, in 10 days. So, okay, I know these are results I got. So, now we're back to the meat. Let's see this boudoir photography business. If these 2 Google searches, see if see if this business has BSS, yes or no for the local search and the city search. All right, there we go. So we're going to organic. Let's see. All right, here we go. Yep, that's one. We got one. So this is the local search, Brentwood, Tennessee. All right, so we got one. We got, let's see. Now, we only got one. We got 1 out of 10 organic slots page one on Google. So we definitely have BSS for the local search. Now let's check our city search. Same thing. So now we're looking at Nashville, Tennessee. All right. Man, was that 10? 1, 2. I guess the discussion took up a huge chunk. Dang. Dude, we're at 0 out of 10 on Nashville. So we got boudoir search sameness for both. Or this boudoir photography business has boudoir search sameness for both Google searches. But now we got something that can fix that, SQ'd methodology. So if you're a disappearing boudoir photographer and you've actually gone and done the local search for the highest intent keywords for your locale, and you've also done it for your city, and you've seen that you got at least one of those has BSS, or you see that at least one you are not hitting the GBC recommended minimum of 3 out of 10 slots page one on Google, then you're seeing this SQ'd methodology like, yes, this is what I've been waiting for. Maybe you had been thinking, how can we get more slots on page one on Google? So maybe you'd already broken through the false belief of page one equality, but now you're like, yes, SQ'd methodology, that's what I've been looking for. Even though you kind of didn't know what to expect or what it would look like, but you decided, yes, SQ'd methodology is your way to move forward. So you're like, heck yeah. And you're also understanding the initial benefits of it. More slots page one. The 2 initial benefits: more slots page one on Google, kick in more competing with web photographers off page one, off to page two, effectively making them invisible to approximately 80% of the marketplace. And you understand the 2 prongs of market saturation. Getting new iPhone or getting new cameras or getting new gear, and you're looking ahead and you're saying, well, you understand AI is going to be taking a ton of people's jobs. So you're like, okay, that is actually going to be the biggest flood, the biggest force of more boudoir photographers into the marketplace, or people who are even those who are new to boudoir photography, going to compress margins for everyone, lower prices for everyone, going to basically force more competition, page one Google search. And so you're saying, all right, I actually need to not only get this many links on page one, you also need to fortify your position right now in preparation for all the new boudoir photographers coming into the market after AI starts taking more and more people's jobs every single day. And you're seeing SQ methodology is also a perfect thing for that as well. It's kind of like building the levees in Nolens, Louisiana. where that city is below sea level. And so once that happens, you're like, or once you're basically seeing the future right now. So you're like, the more links, momentum you can build up to get page one links on Google, the higher chance that the new Boudoir photograpers never even reach page one, never even reach the links, um, on Google page one. And so when so you're seeing that, and SQ's methodology is the way forward, and you want to increase the, you want to achieve page one visibility, become a visible boudoir photographer with boudoir search visibility, because you need those things in order to become number one boudoir photographer in your city. And you also understand kind of the long-term back-end benefits of successfully executing this SQ methodology every single day. And these successful benefits are, basically you're building up kind of these columns, these mindshare columns of peeps who are, kind of these invisible thematic keyword columns that actually, they're kind of like invisible. They're columns attached to, like, the Parthenon in Athens are kind of like invisible columns, like hubs, hub and spoke model. So like spokes onto a hub. And these things exist kind of like as AI mindshare. So you understand the future benefits, which is actually the more we successfully execute methodology, the higher probability we're going to be served up here AI overview on AI search. And so that probability kind of builds and builds and builds every single day that we do successfully execute methodology. And also the same goes for backend search. Like AI search, like ChatGPT search, like we got Perplexity, Claude, we got Microsoft Copilot search, Google Gemini search, and you're seeing other feature benefits as we're successfully executing SQ methodology actually increase the probability we get a list on AI search for all those as well. So I know last time I searched for boudoir photographers in a city, ChatGPT, it literally recommended 3. And I actually went to go on Google for myself to look at, okay, how many are actually going to be, are actually out here. Dude, there's like 60, like Google Maps and Google Search all combined. And so I was like, all right, we got to do something to really increase the probability that we're increasing search here, that we get on these. Because I know I don't standard Google search anything. I'm always using the Google AI overview. And so I know, yeah, standard Google search is still like approximately 90% of all searches, all the search market globally. But dude, AI search getting bigger and bigger every day. So you're seeing that, and you want to actually get kind of those bonuses, those momentum being shown in the increase the probability get shown in these searches. And as a result, you also understand that you decide to hop on this first because you'll be actually be able to build a ton of momentum and separate yourself from all your competitors. Because I basically my plan currently is to only work with one boudoir photographer in each city. So you're seeing you can kind of close off your competitors from using this and put a massive gap between you and them before they even know what's going on, before they even know we've put in the effort to completely dominate page one Google search. And conversely, you're seeing that, oh man, if one of your competitors actually, if one of your competitors actually hops on this first and works with me, well then you'd have to rederive SQ methodology on your own correctly. And when you do that, you would never be 100% confident if you did it, derived it correct or not. And what would actually happen is you'd have to equal our execution. And when you equal our execution, you would simply be maintaining the gap me and your competitor would have already built up, kind of above you or ahead of you. So you'd maintain that gap. You'd actually have to double or triple our daily output of execution of SQ methodology to close that gap, kind of pull that AI mindshare brain momentum for those invisible thematic keyword columns away from your competitor and me and back towards yourself. And so it's like, dude, who's got the 80 hours in a day to do all that? So you decide, screw that. You're going to be the number one first mover in your city. Lock the other peeps out. And so if that's you, shoot me a DM. My hospital is currently closed for new patient intake right now. So my DMs are currently closed. But when I do open up the hospital for new patient intake, then shoot me a DM and we'll see if you qualify to utilize our S-cubed methodology.